I am Lysias Papirakis. I'm the convener of the major in development economics. Next to me is Ana Cristina Canales, who is a student who is currently undertaking the master's program. Now, first of all, let me welcome you to the ISS and our Economics of Development major. ISS, or the International Institute of Social Studies, is a leading institution in the field of development studies and has always been at the cutting edge of a range of development-related themes, particularly in the domain of development economics. Now, you can see our refurbished building, which is conveniently located in the center of The Hague, and I would even say in the center of the country. Now, of course, you'll be undertaking a degree in development studies, and for many of you, this is a very new area of expertise, an unfamiliar territory. So development studies is an interdisciplinary field that combines economics, politics, sociology, environmental studies, and of course, you need to familiarize with it. Now, all of you will receive a thick book. We call this the academic calendar. Right? And this basically becomes your navigation system, right? Your survival guide throughout your studies. Now, what you'll read in this academic calendar is that, of course, we expect you to reach some intended learning outcomes throughout the 15.5 months that you'll be at the ISS. And at the academic calendar, we list 13, we call these exit qualifications, or basically the learning outcomes. I can try basically to condense this into 5 major learning outcomes that we expect you to reach. It's about the knowledge and understanding of different theories, practices, policy frameworks, and of course, keep in mind, knowledge and understanding are 2 different issues. It's about an ability to analyze different theories, analyze data, analyze different concepts, be critical when you compare different notions. It's about your ability to make informed judgments. Some of you might be working in for an NGO, for a government ministry. You might become policymakers. So obviously this is an important quality that you should learn to master. It's about acquiring the ability to communicate clearly, both in oral and written forms. And also it's about creating an attitude that is both critical, reflective, open to other points of view. And of course, we want you to be able to challenge us and not be just passive in terms of the information that we provide to you throughout the course. Now, of course, this sounds like an ideal student, but of course you can do it because everybody, of course, in all the past years that this course has been running, was able to do this. Now, the lady that you can see in the picture at the bottom and also middle left, she's our rector, Professor Inge Butter, who will basically personally give you a handshake when you graduate. Now, our major, the Economics of Development major, consists basically of 10 lecturers who you will meet throughout all the courses. And of course, every lecturer has his or her own specialization in terms of both research and teaching topics. So I would encourage you to visit our websites. Each lecturer has his or her own websites where you can find a lot of information both on his or her own research and teaching interests. So just to give you an example, I'm the first one that you can see on the left-hand side. I have worked in environmental economics and issues related to economic growth, ethnicity and economic development, the economics of climate change, and of course, these personal research interests that I have are also reflected on my teaching. Lorenzo Pellegrini has worked on issues related to minerals and economic development, institutional economics, environmental conservation, and so on. And this gives you basically a flavor of what different colleagues both research and teach. And well, the next slide, I'm not going to go through all the individuals. So basically, 10 people in total who lecture and teach as part of the ECD program. What is important to mention is that every member of staff has a dedicated web page. And you can visit our web pages at the ISS website, and then you can read about all the courses that we teach, any kind of recent publications that we have, our involvement in different projects, and so on. So we try to update our web pages frequently so that you can find the most up-to-date information about both what we teach and what we research. It's also important to check our Google Scholar pages. So this is, for example, my own Google Scholar page, because all the lectures are also very research intensive, and we actively try to link our research with our teaching. So, for example, it's not only that I carry out research in the field of environmental economics and growth, but I also teach 2 courses that also focus on these 2 themes. Now, many of you will have questions about the structure of the MA program. So it's the structure of the ISS program is slightly atypical because it lasts for 15.5 months. It starts towards the beginning of September, and then it finishes in by mid-December after 15 months approximately. We split the work effort into European credits, and there are 88 European credits in total. And just to give you an idea of what these mean, each of these credits basically corresponds to 28 hours. Right? And what these hours mean, it's not only about studying. It can be also lecture time, tutorials, seminars, visits to another institution, and so on. But if you multiply these 88 credits with 28 hours, that means that in total, throughout this period of 15.5 months, you'll be expected to basically have a contact time of approximately 2,500 hours. Now, this gives you a schematic structure of the MA program. So what you can see is that the structure of the program is split between 4 terms. In term 1, you start with the foundation courses. Right? And these foundation courses basically try to give an idea of the different disciplines that constitute development studies. So basically, you will need to take a foundation course in economics, a foundation course in sociology, and one in politics. Now, in term 1, you also start with the general course that is called the Making of Development, Histories, Theories, and Practices. And this basically will be your introduction to development studies. And will also be your opportunity to meet all students also outside your own major. In term 1, you also start with the diagnostic tests and remedial courses. And this, you can think of these as courses that basically will help you be equipped with skills and assets that will help you throughout the whole duration of the course, right? About how to improve your numerical skills, statistics, academic writing skills, and so on. Now, term 1, in a way, it's split between term 1A and term 1B. So you can see in the second half of term 1, you start with the first major course, which we call the Foundations of Economic Development. Right? So this is basically the first specialized course in economics that you will encounter. Now, in term 1, you also start with your methods courses or the research techniques courses. And for most students, this continues also to term 2 and 3. You need to acquire 8 credits in terms of research techniques courses. Most of the ECT students opt for econometrics courses. Some students might decide to, for example, instead enroll to a mixed method course. You know, this is something that we'll decide together based on the kind of research paper that you will want to do in terms 3 and 4. Now in term 2, again, you continue with the specialized ECT options that you have. And then you have a choice between two courses, the one that is called Global Economy and the second one that is called Growth, Inequality and Poverty. So the Global Economy has more of an international economics focus. The Growth, Inequality and Poverty, as the words of course mentioned, are more focused in terms of issues related to growth, income distribution, poverty, and so on. Now in term 2 and 3, of course, you will need to acquire 32 credits in total, which means that most students basically accumulate these courses through the second specialized ECD course that they need to enroll to, a methods course, as well as 2 other optional courses. And these optional courses can either have an economics focus. As for example, as I said, there are courses that focus on environmental economics or behavioral economics or other specializations. But you might also decide to take an optional course outside your major. Right? So you might have an interest in agriculture or an interest, for example, on children welfare and development and so on. Right? And there are approximately, I would say, almost 30 different options that you can from which you can basically decide which optional course you want to take in terms 2 and 3. Now, in term 1, already starts a preparation for your research paper, right? In term 1, you already start being introduced to some kind of simple ideas about what is epistemology, how you approach a research topic, how you formulate a research hypothesis. Right? And then as the research paper preparation course progresses to term 2 and 3, it will become more and more specific. And then in term 3, you'll be assigned to Matthias Rieger, who is an ECT member of staff who basically meet with you more frequently and then will help you to decide on your specific research interest and the research topic that you will want to work on later on throughout the year. At the end of term 2, you'll already have a research topic and you'll be assigned to a supervisor as well as a reader who will basically help you throughout the process, will help you carry out your research. It will basically be these 2 people will be your contact points every time that you'll need some help for your research paper. And after the end of term 3, of course, there will not be any lectures anymore. So in term 4, term 4 starting at the beginning of July until mid-December when you graduate, this will be the time that you have basically to carry out your research and produce your research paper. Some of you will be doing a double degree program, those of you who are from Indonesia. So the structure of the program is slightly different. I'm not going to go through this in detail, but obviously, for instance, you will not need to do the foundation courses. You'll be encouraged to audit them, but you will not need to formally acquire the credits. So this is a slightly different program for you that you can see in this slide. Now, something that is quite important is that when you arrive, we'll ask you to do some diagnostic tests. And the reason behind this is that, of course, we want to see which one of you needs some additional help that we can offer to you. So these diagnostic tests focus on numeracy and quantitative skills, academic writing, computer skills. So normally there is a day or 2 where you need to basically carry out the test, you get a score, and based on this score, we advise you to attend some additional courses that basically help you improve some of these skills. Now, these diagnostic tests are also followed by remedial courses. And what these remedial courses do is, again, try to assist you in developing your math skills, refresh your memory in your microeconomics or macroeconomics, or improve your writing skills. So what happens if you receive a very low score for your diagnostic tests? Then we strongly encourage you to continue with the remedial courses. Now remember also what I said in term 1, you will also need to attend foundation courses. One foundation course out of the 3 disciplines, and there are 2 foundation courses offered on sociology, 2 on political science, and there will be 4 courses in economic statistics. There will be a new foundation course in statistics that will be offered from next year onwards. Now these foundation courses are offered at an intermediate and advanced level. So normally we expect the ECD students, the economic students, to enroll for an intermediate course for the sociology and political science fields, and because obviously most of you will not have a background in sociology and political science, and of course some of you might, for example, have carried out a more interdisciplinary degree as part of your undergraduate studies, so you might be exposed to sociology and political science theories before. But if you haven't done so, then of course we don't want you to enroll to an advanced, to a course at an advanced level for sociology and political science. But for the economics and statistics foundation courses, of course we expect you to enroll to the advanced course that is offered. In term 1, you'll be automatically enrolled for the general course, the making of development. So this is a compulsory course for everybody at the ISS, irrespective of the major that he or she is undertaking. And this general course basically focuses on key theories and concepts related to development studies across all disciplines, economics, sociology, and political science. And you'll familiarize as part of this course with new concepts, how different disciplines define, for instance, sustainable development, what is globalization, how globalization affects both economic and social processes throughout the world, what is neoliberalism, right? Many concepts that perhaps as economists you might have not been exposed to before. What is very important, I would say this is also a defining factor of our major, and possibly also ISS more broadly, is the emphasis that we place on research techniques. Every student at the ISS needs to acquire 8 credits from research techniques models. As I said, most ECD students opt for the econometrics courses, but of course this is not necessarily compulsory, right? If you have a special need for some kind of mixed methods, or also qualitative research techniques, that's something also that you can decide to choose. What we'll also do from next year onwards is that, so there will also be a remedial course in quantitative statistics. Right? So basically you'll be introduced to some basic econometrics skills even earlier. We'll also start with the econometrics course already in term 1A. From the previous year, it started in 1B, so a lot of students would have found it, we had more useful to start a little bit more in advance. And then in term 2 and term 3, you can again continue with your research techniques skills to acquire the compulsory credits that you need as part of your course. And when I compare these program to other programs that also focus on development economics, by the time that you finish term 3, and by the time you start working on your research paper, you will actually be equipped with a lot of skills on econometrics compared to other students who do a similar degree in development economics. In many other development economics programs, students often just have one course on econometrics and that's everything. Whether you'll be exposed to at least 3 solid courses on econometrics. Plus, of course, there are some optional courses that also focus on econometric techniques and statistics. So basically, you have a very solid background. You'll be equipped with solid skills that will help you carry out your research. In terms of the majors in economic development, So there are some courses that will be compulsory for you. There are basically 16 easy credits that come out of the major. The first compulsory specialized economics course that you will need to do in term 1 is the Foundations of Economic Development. So this is a mixture of microeconomics and macroeconomics. And then in term 2, there is another two more specialized major courses for ECD students, and then you'll need to basically choose one out of the two. There is the Growth, Inequality and Poverty course, and there's the Global Economy course. Of course, in addition to this, your research paper also needs to be on a topic that is specific to the major. And of course, you can imagine that most ECD students do not find it difficult to define a research theme that is linked to one field of economics or another. Now, let me say a few things about the research paper. Now, this is a substantial piece of work. It's close to 15,000 words. We put a lot of emphasis on methodological rigor, innovative research, critical reflection, the quality of arguments. Most students carry out some empirical analysis. But of course, every year we might have 1 or 2 students who might decide to do something more theoretical instead. For example, a theoretical model where you solve analytically models through equations, or you might decide to do some simulations. So not necessarily the case that everybody carries out a research paper based on econometric analysis. There are many different ECD topics that students have chosen as part of their RP. Here I have tried to give you a flavor. Topics on decentralization, original inflation in Indonesia, female labor supply and childcare in Colombia, the effect of natural resource abundance and economic growth in Indonesia, and so on. So you can see that there are many different topics. And actually, if you go to the library website of the ISS, you can download all these different research papers, so you can get an idea of the wide breadth of research topics that students have been involved in previous years. Of course, all students who decide to do the ECD major, the ECD major will appear on your degree, but it's also possible that you can specialize further. And there are 2 specializations within the ECD major: the Economic Analysis of Development Policies, which is basically, it's a combination of 2 courses, the Growth, Inequality and Poverty, and the Econometric Analysis of Development Policies. That's, of course, a research paper that specializes on these topics. And there's a second specialization on offer, which is a Global Economy specialization that combines the Global Economy course with the International Financial Reform course. Of course, you do not need to specialize. You don't need to follow these 2 specializations. This is entirely optional. Some students do follow specializations if they want this to appear on their degree. Some students decide not to do so. Of course, it's also possible to specialize outside your majors. There are approximately 10 different specializations that are offered within ISS. So 2 of them are offered within the ECD major, but there are also other specializations from other majors. It's absolutely normal, especially when you first arrive at the ISS, to be a little bit lost. So there are important documents that will help you navigate. Important documents, as of course, as our website. As I said, probably the most important document that you should consult is the academic calendar. You'll be given a copy when you arrive at the ISS, but that's you can already access the academic calendar through the ISS website. Of course, we update this every year. So if you go to the ISS website and get hold of the academic calendar, it will not be 100% up to date, but it will give you a flavor of all the different regulations, courses on offer, and so on. There's the Students' Charter. You also find a lot of practical information about the IT services, how the Board of Examiners works, how you ask for extensions, right, different regulations, plagiarism, penalties, and so on. There's also the Ask ISS link, where basically you can type different questions, and this will help you find the right answer. Now, more specifically about the economics of development major, I have included here some links that you might find useful. The first link is about our ECD research interests, teaching, and specializations. The second link is the link to the current academic calendar. And the first line is basically my own contact details. Right? You might have questions about the ECD course. The easiest way to contact me is through my email, patrirakit@iss.nl. Including, of course, my office number, unless it happens that you are somewhere in the Netherlands, this will not be of much use to you. On my last slide, and I think this is something important, and every year I have a session with the students where I ask them what they like the most. And this is our educational trip to Dublin that takes place around mid-February. It lasts for 3 days. So we go to Dublin, we pay a visit to Trinity College in Dublin. So there are some guest lectures there for us. But as you can see from the picture, it's not only attending lectures, it's also having fun together. Right? So it's a bonding exercise. We do a trip to different parts of Ireland. Some students go to visit the coastline, some people go more inlands. So every year it's, this educational trip is very popular. And it's certainly very much appreciated by all students. So Darren, I think I'll stop somewhere here.
Yeah.
Now I think I'll pass now the floor to you, Anna Cristina. So you might want to tell us a few things about your own experience as a student.
Well, I'll just complement what you already said, and for me, one thing that was relevant in my experience is the fact that I'm a veterinarian by profession. My undergraduate career is that. So when I came to ISS originally, I was going to do another major. I was going to do the food and agriculture and environment major. So one of the first things I would actually recommend is to carefully read every major's outline, even if you have like your decision made and you want to come to economics, I would recommend go over the other ones, because when I came here I realized that when I talked to my classmates and my friends, I saw that actually economics was much more suited for my research purpose. So I found myself a bit delayed in some courses or in some remedials because I changed my mind when I was here. So that's one of the things I would actually advise. I'm really happy with my decision. I think it was very, very well done, well thought. All the professors here were available in the ECD. I spoke with 2 or 3 professors. They gave me their point of view. I spoke with people in my original major, so that's not a problem. It's not like you're going to have competition and like, yeah, people don't wanting you to move. That's not a problem. So everybody's very warm and welcoming. Another thing is that, well, maybe before that, I should have said it before, but if somebody is still choosing schools or countries, I would advise to actually look. I had as everybody, I had my options before coming here, and one of the things that I really weighted in my options was the country, the city, and the environment you want to live in. I think The Hague is a nice city. The Netherlands is a very nice country. It's very easy to move around. So maybe The Hague is not the most like fun and exhilarating and Amsterdam-ish city in the Netherlands, but the Netherlands is a country where you can safely and quickly move around with no problems. So I think that is a nice thing about this school. Back to the major again. Another thing that caught my attention when I got here, I thought that I had done a master's degree before and the workload was heavy, but it was not that heavy. This master and this major has a heavy workload. So heavy indeed. So that should be considered. Like if somebody wants to come here and thinks that you're going to be able to work a lot and maybe have an extra income and maybe travel a lot, it's important to know that you probably won't have the time to do that. Of course, always considering that our first objective, or at least my first objective, my priority is to do well on my master's degree. So it's good to hear it from somebody. It's not light. It requires a lot of reading. It requires, when you get into the economics, it requires a lot of work. I'm not an economist, so of course I struggle with some things, but my friends that are economists also have a lot to study, a lot to read. Well, of course it's nice, you're learning a lot. So yeah, that should be...
It's a full-time job.
It's a full-time master's.
Just like anybody who has a job.
Exactly, but there are some masters that are like very light. And you come here in the first week and you're gonna be shocked because you think, oh, maybe I'll have like 2-3 days a week. Nah. You have 9 to 5 classes the first term at least.
How many contact hours do you have?
So,
With contact hours with the teachers do you have?
You have basically, it's not an open agenda, but most of the teachers are very much available, like for one-on-one conversations, and on the first week, the courses will, it depends on each course. Many courses have different professors, and of course it's gonna change. For example, the Foundations of Economics has only one professor, so your contact hours with that professor in particular, with Lorenzo Pellegrini, are going to be much more. But in the Making of Development, you have a different lecture each week with a workshop, and then with another like deepening session. So it's a lot of work. One thing that it's nice about ISS is that professors are very available to talk, to work if you have questions. They have a very nice approach to solving questions. I don't know if that's...
It's good.
What else? Sorry. So the good thing is that the first term pushes you out of your comfort zone, which can be, I don't know if annoying is a word, but of course it can be challenging, but at the end it's very good.
Overwhelming.
Overwhelming, that was the word. Overwhelming. It's very good because, yeah, you come at this point in your professional career, probably, you're already like fixated inside a like path. And this takes you very much away from that path and pushes you a lot, and that's good. Another thing that it's important is that even though you're taking an economics major, you are going to do a lot of writing. So people think that economics, you can forget about writing because it's models and explaining models. Well, that's not very much true. You will be asked to write, and for example, in one of the courses now, we were asked to replicate the paper. So you will have to you'll have the econometrics and the economics, but you also need writing skills. So don't just ditch your writing skills because you'll need them. And there's another good thing is that you have loads of possibilities to complement your program with elective courses. So you can take as Eliseus would say, you can take your elective programs within the economics, but you can take things such as, I don't know, gender, poverty, child development, feminist theories and strategies for development. There is a big
So there are truly so many optional courses that it would be impossible, even for me as convener, to memorize them. It's such a, I would say, compared to other master's programs, you have so many choices that you don't even know where to start from. Mm-hmm. But then the nice thing is that even if your research paper is very specialized, it's almost impossible you'll not find an optional course that that matches your research interests. So that a lot of students find this helpful.
It's helpful, and it's good because I think that nowadays everybody knows that you don't have to over specialize and over focus in one topic. We want to be integrated professionals with a holistic vision. Another thing is, emphasis in research paper is very strong, so that's also should be taken into account. So as Eliseus was saying, from July to October I think it is.
Yes, that's
end of October or something, we have to write the research paper, and you say, well, that's a lot of time. It's not, because it's a strong issue of this program. There's a strong emphasis on academic skills, academic writing, and research topics, and about the specializations. Yeah, again, read maybe all the descriptions, but it's a flexible thing. So don't be scared of the fact that you have to make a decision before coming here, because it's not 100% like that. If you want to make a specialization and here you decide because you change your RP topic or because you realize that you have, you know, different interests, you can change it and it's okay. They give you a period of time to change courses in the middle of the path.
We have exchanged many emails about changing courses.
Yes, I have. I did it myself, so I know it's true. And I think that's it.
Okay. Thank you so much for all the information. Now we move on to some Q&A that some of the prospect has been asking. Mostly it's about admission, but I have answered those questions about admission process, so no worries about that. Maybe can you please explain a little bit about the class environment and the teaching methods to the students, prospects?
I think Anna Christina can also say a few things because she has attended many more classes than me.
Maybe Anna is the best person.
Let's say it depends on the type of course it is on offer. Some courses are more theoretical and conceptual, and then of course the teaching approach is much more based on lecturing and PowerPoint slides. Some other courses are much more practical, and of course in that case there are computer labs with data analysis. Again, some other courses might put much more emphasis on seminar and discussion. So it varies a lot.
Okay.
I agree, and also, well, maybe the courses from the first term are a bit more focused on like igniting conversation and bringing up different topics, and they really want you to be very analytical and very critical on different points of view of development, which is on its own a fairly new field of study, so there probably aren't that many theories. And maybe when you move on to the economics bit, well, for starters, your classes start to reduce in number, like dramatically. So at the beginning, for example, in the making of development, that it's only one course for the whole of us. I think it was like 100 and something.
Now 50 students.
People in one room, so it can get very much like fun, but also, of course, it's not a extremely personalized, you know, teaching method. When you move to, for example, the courses that we're having now, we are like 10, 12 people on the econometric impact of policies. So of course it's a completely different vision or point of view. But I must say that a common thing is that basically all professors during classes are very approachable. It's a place where, of course, it takes, and it's open to discussions, respectful discussions, of course. Teachers or professors, are very, they are not only open, but they very much invite you to discuss a lot the things. And class environments, regarding my classmates, I think it's amazing because you have such a variety of origins that it's really, really nice. You can, since it's an open discussion and it's very inviting to this kind of relation, you can learn a lot about your classmates and actually what are their realities and what are the realities of countries that are completely different from yours.
Okay, thank you, Anna. Another question about the specialization. Maybe this is for Elisaius. Someone was asking how many people normally are in a class in a specific specialization, roughly.
Well, I mean, as I said, the specializations, we have two ECD specializations. And these two specializations is basically a combination of two courses per specialization. So just to give you an example. If you decide to go for the economic analysis of development policies specialization, that means that students need to follow two courses, the growth inequality and poverty and the econometric analysis of development policies. Now, when you follow these two courses, because you need to follow these two courses to have the specialization on your degree and your certificate, of course, there will be some other students in the room that are interested in perhaps one of the two courses, but they do not necessarily want to follow the specialization. I'd say on average, you will have something between 10 to 20 students in each course. So they're not very large groups. Some of the students will be there because they want to take the specialization. Some of the students will be there because they have an interest in that particular course, but they might not necessarily want to have a specialization on their degree. Okay. But relatively, as Anna Christina also said, especially in term 2 and 3, the number of students per course, it's not very large. It's between 10 and 20 students, and I think that's a good balance of students per course, because that also gives plenty of room for interaction and discussion.
Thank you, Lisaios. Another question about career options, particularly with this major. What are the career options that students have after they have graduated from the MA program, majoring in the ECD?
Yes. Well, there are different opportunities. I should also say that the university, the ISS is part of the Erasmus University, so there is a careers office that can help students, especially if they're interested in finding employment in the Netherlands. Now, doing a degree in development economics, of course, opens a lot of different opportunities. Some students might decide to work for a government ministry, for example, for the Ministry of Finance, the Ministry of Economics. Some students might decide to work in an NGO, given that although you're doing a degree in development economics, you're doing this as part of a master's in development studies. So obviously a lot of the NGOs who work on international development, will have an interest in our graduates. But saying this, you'll have a solid foundation in development economics that will allow you to work in many international organizations, whether this is the World Bank, the IMF, for the government, for NGOs, private companies. All the big multinational companies, they often have a group of people who work, for example, on corporate social responsibility, a CSR group. So there'll be a lot of different opportunities for you. And you'll not be left alone when you graduate, so we'll be here to help you. We also have some students who, while they're here at the ISS and they do the masters, for instance, they also try to find an internship. So we have students who work, for instance, for WWF or HIVOS, which is a Dutch NGO, or for ministries. And this can create additional opportunities because you might do an internship just for 2 or 3 months. Some of these internships might actually be linked to your research paper. But then, through these internships, of course, you will create a network, right, of people who might offer you a job opportunity again at a later stage. So be open-minded. Once you're open-minded, you'll see that there are plenty of work opportunities out there for you. I should also say that every year we have at least a few students who decide to continue with a PhD. So they want to carry out a doctorate degree. Some of them stay at the ISS, some of them do their PhD in other universities. Some of these, of course, you might say this is not necessarily employment, right? Although some of these PhD positions, both at the ISS and in other universities, they come with a stipendium, so there will be some funds there to support you. So if you're also interested in continuing with carrying out research, perhaps continue with the research that you did as part of your research paper, keep in mind that there are also opportunities in this area.
Thank you, Elisaios. Do you have anything to say, Anna? No. Talking about research paper, can you please explain a little bit more about it? Because someone is asking if they have to carry out their research back home, for instance, in Ghana. Do they have to go home? Can I get my data from The Hague? Or something like that.
Well, that's a good question. I should say there is a lot of flexibility. As most of you, especially those of you who have a background in economics, will know, economics is split into microeconomics and macroeconomics. So I'm a macroeconomist, so that makes, in a way, my life much easier because it means I'm using secondary data for my own research. So for those of you who will use secondary data, you do not need to go back to your country. You know, you can basically download a lot of data from a computer at the ISS, or when you're back at your own accommodation, and you can use this data for your research paper. Now, of course, some of you might actually want to collect your own data, right? Primary data. In which case, you might want to go back to the country where you come from, or you might even collect some data here in The Hague, right, or in the Netherlands. We got students who actually went out to the streets and they were interviewing people. They collected data and they did a wonderful job in terms of the research paper. So there are a lot of different options, and of course, we're all open to different ideas. So it all depends on the approach that you want to take. Again, you can use secondary data, you can use primary data, you can either try to combine the two. You can use secondary data that you can easily download from the World Bank, and at the same time you might, let's say, initiate some kind of focus group discussion here in the Netherlands with some specialists to share your results and see what they think about it. So there are many different ways to structure this.
One thing that it's important maybe is that you are not required to do your RP, your research paper, in your home country or about your home country. In my case, I'm not going to do it about my home country, and that is fine, which was a question of mine at the beginning.
Okay, and also just to add to those who are listening, when you're done, when you start your research paper and you want to go home to collect your primary data, you do not necessarily need to come back to ISS. You can also submit your research paper online and stay back home and not come back to the ISS and graduate. Although it's nice to come back, but it's an option for you to stay back home. Yes. Just to add.
I should also say that if you decide to collect primary data in another country, for instance, will not abandon you alone in this country. So nowadays we have the technology, whether this is just writing long emails or Skyping. I'm one of these people who Skype very often with students. So we'll be able also to support you from a distance, if necessary.
Good. Thank you, Elisaios. Well, there's no other questions that the students are asking, because I think you guys have covered it quite very detailed. So with that, I think we can conclude this webinar session. And to all of you out there, if you have any questions, please send me an email. And if I can't answer them, I will forward it to Elisaios, and I'm sure he'll be more than happy to fill in the gaps.
And actually, maybe one last thing I wanted to say, we're still online, right?
Yes, we are.
Once you arrive at the ISS, you will realize that there will be like the United Nations. I mean, you might also realize, because now already around the table here, we captured 3 different continents: Latin America, Christina, and you, Asia, and me, Southern Europe.
Yeah.
So this is also reflected in terms of the lecturers. So if you have a look at the ECT lecturers, some people are from the Netherlands, but we have lecturers from Italy, Greece, Germany, India, Bangladesh. We're a very diverse group. But I would say this is even much more reflected in terms of the geographical distribution of students. You might find students from countries that you didn't even know that existed. So you'll be pleasantly surprised.
Okay, great. On behalf of Elisaios and Anna, we hope that we will see you in September. Thanks for joining us. Take care and bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks.
Bye.